Hey everyone. So my name is Mauricio for those that don't know me. And what I'm going to do today is I want to talk to you. I want to share with you my testimony of how I encountered the Lord. I've actually shared my testimony to a few people, and many people have asked me why don't I record it and post it. I'm kind of reserved. I don't really like to make my life public, but at the same time, I've seen how my walk with the Lord and my testimony has helped a couple of people for them to get closer with the Lord. So, here I am. I'm going to go ahead and share it, and hopefully it touches at least one person. Anyway, but for me, it basically started in 2020 when I lost my job. I had a pretty good career, an opportunity where basically I had a good opportunity for growth. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, it all crashed, and I was kind of at a position where I felt very upset, angered, and frustrated about life in general. I was not really a pleasant person to be around with. I had a lot of responsibilities, a lot of bills, and life is not cheap, so I needed money. I was very fortunate though. I was with a partner. I had a girlfriend, a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person, absolutely the best person, and she was very supportive, helped me out throughout my path, and supported since day one, when she and I been together. But anyway, in 2020, actually let me backtrack a little bit. I was born and raised in Catholic, strong Catholic family. As I gotten older, I lost my faith. I've always known and believed in God, but I never really feared him. And that was the thing, I never feared him. I used to do a lot of things that were very sinful. I focused primarily on things that would bring me joy. And some of those things were not always okay with God. So anyway, fortunately though, I did always have a good heart and I always care for people, but that's not enough. Obviously, me not fearing the Lord, I was a very sinful man. I'm ashamed to say it now, but that was my past. But anyway, where I'm going with this is that I had somebody that came into my life in 2020, a business partner, who was always preaching about the word to me. And at that moment, I didn't really value it. I went in one ear, went out the other. I was more focused on the business aspect of it. I joined partnership with her. I was more focused on that. She would preach them to me, and out of respect, I'll let her talk. But I'll nod, be like, oh, "Okay, wow, great," and then boom, I'll get into the business. Anyway, little did I know that she was actually just planting a seed on me. Some of the things actually stuck with me, and a lot of it didn't. But it's okay because she was doing the Lord's work. Fast forward to 2023, there was a time when I was really frustrated. I had a lot of bills. I did do some odd jobs here and there. I have an entrepreneur spirit in me, so I was trying different things. Many of them didn't work, so I felt defeated. And 2023, I remember one day I was really stressed out. I was really upset, and every morning I shaved my head, and I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and just watch Catholic Mass. It was outside of my character because, see, I'm a YouTube guy. I watch YouTube videos, documentaries, listen to YouTube music. That's where if anything phone related, that's what I do. But anyway, this particular morning I was thinking to myself, you know what, let me just watch YouTube Mass, Catholic Mass, and I pulled it up, and there were some there 40 minutes too long, 30 minutes still too long, and I found one for 20 minutes. I was like, perfect, 20 minutes it is. Anyhow, so as I started watching the Mass and shaving, the priest came into the scripture of Matthew 6:34, where he reads, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." That particular message really spoke to me. It actually brought me a little peace and comfort. Don't know why at that moment, but it just did. And I had that in my head throughout the day. Anyway, that very same day, in the evening, as I was prepping dinner. I usually, when I cook dinner, I'd always put my phone. Same thing. I'll hear documentaries, watch videos, just listen to music, whatever the case may be. But this evening in particular, something again outside of my character, I went and typed in Jesus movie, and the first one that popped up was the Jesus of Nazareth, 1978, which is like 6 hours long. It's quite lengthy, but obviously I'm not gonna cook for 6 long, so I figured I'll just place it against the wall and I'll move my finger to wherever it landed, right? And I figured wherever it landed, that's where I'll watch it from. Anyway, it landed basically right on the spot when Jesus was gathered around the crowd, and in the movie he says, "Do not be anxious for tomorrow will be anxious for itself." And sorry, I was getting a call. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of weird, It's a weird coincidence out of the same day, the same scripture, and it was like, weird coincidence, but that's all I thought about it. And didn't pay much attention to it. However, it still lingered in my head. I was like, it's just kind of weird. But anyway, fast forward a little bit. I continued watching Mass on YouTube. I would watch it maybe 3-4 times a week, right? And I was kind of hoping for that, to find that peace that I fought the first day. Some of it was kind of boring and some of it did speak to me, but I continued with it. And then one Thursday in particular, I remember thinking to myself, you know what? Maybe I should actually go physically to church. Why not, right? I figured if I'm watching Mass, let me just go ahead and go to church. So I started Googling, and churches near me, and I was living in Maryland at the time, and I found a few, and I was like, well, and this one's a little too far away, this one's a little too early in the morning. I was giving myself a million reasons why not to go, right? And I was battling with myself. I was thinking, oh man, you know what? I had the little devil and the angel here. The devil was telling me, don't go, why are you gonna go? You hear the word anyway, blah, 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 just stay at home. And on the other hand, I was listening to an angel and saying, go to church. Well, anyway, and I minimized it, right? I closed it out and I was like, I'll get to it later. And knowing me, sometimes when I do that, it's because I get a little bit stressed out, and I'll get to it a little bit later, I said. Well, that very next day, the very first text message that I get is from a gym buddy of mine who sends me a link to his church, inviting me to his church, Catholic Church. And mind you, him and I never really talked about the faith. It was more always gym talk. We were two gym rat guys, talking about gym nutrition and whatever. So I was like, whoa, I was thinking to myself, all right, that was kind of weird, but great. So I went up to him that day and I asked him about it, and he just invited me to his church, and I told him, well, listen, thank you, I'll go. And I explained to him why, how it basically led up to that. So I go to church and I sat down, and I kid you not, when I sat down is when I actually felt the Holy Spirit. I really felt His presence. It's hard to explain in words, but it's almost emotional. And I'm not really an emotional type of guy, but I was feeling a little emotional then. And I really felt Him. And I was thinking to myself, what is this? What is this? What is this feeling? But anyway, and I honestly, during the service, I just kept thinking about that feeling that I was getting, that I had when I first got there. And I wasn't even focused so much on the actual service. But when I left Mass that day, I said to myself, you know what? I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna continue going to Mass. I'm not gonna stop. So anyhow, fast forward some time. All this has happening within a few months, right? So I go on YouTube one day and I started watching YouTube documentaries of people who encountered the Lord, from various all walks of life, from ex-Satanists, gang members, Muslims, you name it, how they encountered the Lord. And I really started enjoying it. I watched so many different testimonies, and it was very powerful. So therefore, one thing in common that a lot of these testimonies have is they always say it towards the end that once they encountered the Lord, they started reading the Word, meaning the Bible. Well, I didn't have a Bible, and I was like, okay, you know what? Let me go ahead and start reading the Bible. So I go on Amazon, I start looking up, typing Bible. And my ignorance, I didn't know that there's so many different versions of Bible. I thought there was one Bible for all. So I was like, all right. And then I was like, now what? Well, I was thinking, oh, this one has a cool looking cover. I was like, all right, this one has a lion, badass. So, but anyway, I was like, no, I'll get to it later. Let me do some research on it. So I minimized it. Anyway, shortly after, my business partner calls me up, and she's abroad, she's in overseas at this moment, and she called me up and asking me as a favor to go pick up something from one of the client's house, and I was like, sure, no problem, I'll gladly go. And she gave me the directions and the address and so forth, and I go there and introduce myself, started talking, blah, blah, blah. Nice lady. And pretty much as I was getting ready to leave, she kind of pauses and tells me, hold on one second. And this is all in Spanish. She's telling me, it's like, I'll be right back. And, she goes on to wherever and comes back and gives me a Bible. And I was like, whew. I was thinking to myself, that's just a weird coincidence. I was like, Lord, what is this? Like, I was thinking, is this the Lord? Is this just a weird coincidence? I'm still not putting everything together, right? Everything's happening, and I'm still trying to understand things. So I explained to her about, what happened and why it impacted me at that moment. And so we started talking longer about it. And she explained to me that the Lord had used her to give her the Bible. I mean, she kind of explained to me that, opened my heart, opened my eyes to the Lord, and because he's trying to get to me, trying to get my attention. Well, surely enough, he does have my attention now. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, okay, Lord, I'm listening. I'm here. I'm listening. So I go and I started reading the Bible, and honestly, when I got home, when I was driving home, I was thinking to myself, Lord, thank you. I was thanking him, Lord, thank you for this Bible. This is, I see what you're doing. And at the same time, I'm thinking about everything, from hearing the message, when I was shaving to in the movie, and just, I started putting everything together. So then I started reading the Bible, and I was reading it like a book, just a regular book at first, I go on YouTube, I was like, how to read a Bible. And, where do I start? New Testament, Old Testament, like, where do I start? Anyway, so I started from the New Testament, and everybody's saying, you can finish it in a year if you read 2 to 3 chapters, blah, 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 and so forth. You can take notes and highlighters and so forth. And I was telling myself, you know what? I'm going to read it in half a year. I'm going to read more chapters. And, so why a whole year? Let me just finish it in much quicker. So I started reading it. And it was just empty words, honestly, at first. I was not enjoying it. It was just a regular book. Some of it was actually boring, to be honest with you, at the beginning. And then it dawned on me that, I was like, I'm just not reading it right. I'm treating it as a regular book, when in reality it's not just a regular book. This is the Lord's words. This is a holy book. This book is alive. And I was not treating it as such. I slowed it down a lot, and I started reading it, and I was like, you know what, let me just read one chapter a day. And that's when it started hitting me differently. That's when I actually started understanding. So, yeah. Anyway, fast forward a little longer, some few weeks or whatever it was. It was one Saturday evening. I had a muscle ache, and I popped a muscle relaxer pill, and I was thinking to myself, Sunday is Mass. Mass is at 10:30, and I was thinking maybe I should set my alarm just in case I oversleep. But I dismissed it only because I wake up every day, regardless of whatever time I go to bed, between 6:30, 7:30, I'm up. So, I didn't set the alarm. Well, 9:32 comes around and I get woken up by a voice calling my name in Spanish, a firm but sweet voice, and it goes, Mauricio. And it's hard to explain. It wasn't a voice like in a dream. Sometimes you can differentiate between when you're dreaming, like the voice, versus somebody, like if it's standing next to you. Well, that's what it was. Like somebody standing next to me calling my name. I woke up instantly and I was like, whoa. And I asked my girlfriend at the time, I was like, did you call me? And she's like, no. I was like, wow, it's just weird. So anyway, I was still drowsy from my muscle relaxer. And unfortunately, I didn't make mass that day. I was, even though I got woken up, I was just still drowsy. I needed to shave and shower, whatever the case. And then eventually that day I realized, you know what? I think that was the Lord calling me. Because that voice really just kept replaying and playing in my head. And I was like, that was the Lord calling me. So then imagine how I felt. I was like getting woken up by the Lord and not going to mass. And I was supposed to go to the gym. And obviously then, I was like, no, I can't go to the gym because my punishment to myself is I'm not going to go to the gym. If I miss mass, after getting woken up by the Lord, I'm not going to go to the gym. So I felt really bad about it. Anyway, fast forward a little longer as well. One of the hardest parts in moment in my life is when my girlfriend of 7 years broke up with me. I was devastated, honestly. I was really heartbroken. I really saw myself with that person for forever, until we got old and so forth. But I was pushing for us to get married in the church, and that didn't sit well with her, at this moment, all I kept thinking about was the Lord, and I just woke up and I'm seeing the Lord. I want to live by the Lord. I want to do right and so forth. I'm living in sin, and anyway, so while she broke up with me, we separated. I went in. Fortunately, I came in to live in my parents' house, and one evening I was just in my room downstairs and I had the lights off, and all of a sudden I just had a very heavy heart. I was just thinking to myself, Lord, I am sorry. I am sorry for this. I am sorry for that. I kept thinking about all my sins that I committed throughout my life. And I started thinking about almost everything you can think of, as a kid to as a grown-up. And I used to even listen to satanic music. And I had to, I felt horrible. I felt horrible. So I just kept apologizing, Lord, I'm sorry. And I was getting emotional. And that's when I heard, your sins are forgiven. Now, that voice was not the same voice as it was when it first woke me up. This voice was more gentle, softer. But as soon as I heard it, I laughed and I smiled and I felt relieved, because I felt like really my sins were forgiven. And I reflected on that, and I was like, Lord, did I just hear you again? Did you just forgive me my sins? And this is why I feel so happy right now. Because literally I went from being very sad, almost to the borderline crying, emotional, and just upset at myself, to happy and joy. Just felt joy and happy and relieved. And I just get a little emotional just thinking about it now. But yeah, so that was the second time I heard him. At this point, and honestly, I was scared to tell people this, because I'm thinking to myself, people are going to think I am crazy. People are going to think I'm losing my mind, and I didn't say it to I didn't tell this to anybody except for my business partner, because she is very much of faith. And she did tell me, Mauri, the Lord talks to you. The Lord is talking to you. Don't close your heart. Open your heart to him. Listen to him. And that's when my life just changed that moment a lot, because I was woken up from everything that happened before, but at that moment is when I realized truly that he's trying to really work on me. So now I'm just telling that to people. I'm sharing my testimony to people and I'm letting them know, I'm telling people, and it's a new walk of life. It's something that I get so happy about. But anyway, fast forward a little bit longer as well. I was FaceTiming with somebody, a lady very much of faith, beautiful person. And for 3 days in a row, we would be FaceTiming in the evening, and I had skipped reading the Bible because I was only reading the Bible at nighttime. Well, when we were talking, my Bible's to my right, on my nightstand. I had my phone here, and I'm looking over here to the right, and I glanced at the Bible, and I thought in my head, I thought, I have to read you tonight, otherwise it will be 4 days. Well, seconds after I thought that in my head, the Bible just falls down. And I glanced at it, and I told her, I was like, look, you're not going to believe just what happened. And I explained to her. And so she's like, no, we're going to stop talking right now. We're going to read the Bible right now because he's trying to get your attention. And surely enough, he was. Because people have told me, well, you sure, because books, it could fall, right? I mean, it's a book, it can fall. Yes, it can. However, this is a hard book. And at that point it was 4 or 5 months. It has never fallen once. And I have a little weight on the side of it. It's a decoration, but it's also a weight. And it's holding the book in place. So in order for the Bible to fall, something strong needs to happen. Somebody needs to push it or something like a force needs to occur for it to make it fall. So it's just really funny how that's one way that the Lord got my attention. It's like, no, Mauricio, you're going to read the Bible right now. You thought about it, and no, this is me telling you right now, read it. So I read the Bible that night, and it felt wonderful. Wonderful. And okay, well, fast forward. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, what can I do to be a better person, right? I'm obviously becoming a better person of faith. I'm loving God. I'm trying to do my best every day, but I need to do something more. With my business partner and I, she has the same goals that I do as far as to help the people, the poor, the kids in particular. So that's what we do. But I wanted to do something more, something local, because we're feeding the people abroad in South America, the very poor kids. Anyway, so I was thinking to myself, what can I do? And one Sunday, I went to a different mass. I don't remember why I went to that particular mass, but anyway, I went to a mass, and I saw from a distance a guy that looks just like a friend of mine from when I was younger. And I was like, okay, so I go in after service, I go into my car and I Googled him, and surely enough, I found him, and he's the director of the youth ministry. I reached out to him. He called me right away. We started talking. We met up the next day. I gave him my testimony. He thanked me. He's like, would you mind sharing it with the kids? Because he basically works with kids on Monday nights. Excuse me. He works with kids on Monday nights. And I was like, sure, no problem. Yeah, I'll gladly go. At this point, I've only been sharing my testimony to one person at a time here and there, right? But this time it was like 14, 15 kids. I can't remember how many. But, and as I was driving down Monday night to talk with them, I remember doing a quick prayer. I was like, Lord, I'm just going to share my testimony, but please, use me. Like, I would love for you to be able to get to these kids, because I know a lot of these kids are not with the faith, or maybe they are, but they're lost, or they have confusion. I don't know, but regardless, I was like, Lord, please, use me to get to these kids. Well, I got there and I shared my testimony with them, and honestly, I don't really remember what I was saying, but I was just letting the Holy Spirit take over. And I was very happy because these kids were paying attention, and they enjoyed it, and some of them asked me questions, and they were thanking me, and I felt that connection, right? These kids were very absorbing everything that I was saying. Well, once everybody left, my friend told me, he thanked me for it, and he's like, these kids have, he said something along the lines of like, these kids never sit still, and the fact that I got their attention is like, that was God. So we laughed about that, and he also told me something that really impacted me, and he's like, I have been praying to the Lord to send me a man to help me with these kids. And the only reason I'm saying a man was because sometimes these kids can be a little wild, right? They're young, and I don't know. But he was praying for somebody like me to come along, and this is exactly what I've been trying to do. This is what I wanted to do: help, find something that I can do to help out anybody. So now I'm volunteering, and I find myself every Monday meeting with the kids and do whatever I can to help people come, and encounter the Lord. So anyway, I know this is about a 26-minute long video so far, but a lot more things have happened here and there. But I wanted to just share with you guys like the big things that really, really impacted me the most. But he has truly spoken to me through signs as well, and I just tell people now that God is real. If somebody is not sure, usually what I tell people is just enclose yourself in your room and just stay silent and pray and let him talk to you, because apparently he does talk to you if you just listen. And so anyway, I hope this touches somebody and brings them somewhat closer to the Lord. So I'll put my email address if I'm going to put this on YouTube. I don't know yet, but if I put it on YouTube, I'll put my email address. If you ever want to reach out to me, feel free. And so thanks so much, and take care.